Hi there, welcome back to Diagonal Move. Today we're going to be doing a solo playthrough of the Shores of Tripoli from Fort Circle Games, designed by Kevin Bertram. This is a card-driven historical game in which the forces of the relatively recently independent United States of America are trying to prevent the pirates of Tripoli, as they were known, from raiding the merchant shipping throughout the Mediterranean Sea. In the solo game, the player takes the side of the Americans, and the game has a bot known as the T-bot, which runs the Tripolitanian side. And what the T-bot will do is it will run through this long line of cards here in combination with a series of usage criteria on the back of the rulebook to play a card when it's the Tripolitanians' turn, and these second row of cards here will be what's known as battle cards. They will support certain actions throughout the game. I've done a full rules overview, so I won't be going into too much detail with the rules today, other than to clarify certain things as and when they need clarifying. I will link that video should you wish to see the rules in more detail. Okay, so we're in the spring of 1801. Each turn, each round, each year does have 4 turns, and there are 6 years in total. I've drawn my 6 cards for the first round and need to decide what to play. Now, when you do play this game, there are a number of victory conditions for the Tripolitanian side that are easy to achieve if you don't keep an eye on them. The main one being stealing gold, which is this. And they steal gold through the use of pirate raids. And in the early part of the game, if you don't keep an eye on the pirate raids, you'll very quickly lose. So what we need to do really is try and keep an eye on Tripoli, the pirate zone of Tripoli, to make interceptions as they raid out of Tripoli, while also making sure the corsairs in the neutral harbour of Gibraltar don't make a run for Tripoli. And we also somehow need to get our allies from Sweden in, who are these yellow ones, these yellow frigates here, because they can help us. And as many of the cards in the game have criteria based on what turn they can be used, we know that in advance that the Swedish frigates only have a limited time on the board, and so we need to make good use of those straight away. So a lot to think about in the early part of the game. So my 6 cards today, I've got a couple of battle cards which aren't really very useful at this point. 3 battle cards actually. We also have a useful card called Constantinople demands tribute, which means the Tripolitanian player must return 2 gold coins to us. An excellent card here, Congress authorises action, which gives us reinforcements earlier than we might normally hope, and then movement. We can, of course, in addition to playing cards, we can discard cards to move or to build gunboats, but this is very useful because we can move all 3 of our current ships around the board now. So I'll play that. It goes into my discard pile rather than out of the game like a lot of cards do, and we move 1 ship to the patrol zone of Gibraltar, the other into Tripoli. And it is now the Tripolitanian turn. These cards here have a priority to them, and normally in the early part of the game this card, Murad Rees, breaks out, gets played quite early on, and what will happen is those 2 frigates up there not frigates, corsairs up there in Gibraltar will make a break for Tripoli and join their fellow pirates in Tripoli, and we want to try and minimise the risk of that happening if we can. What I've done here by placing the ship there means that according to the criteria in the back of the rulebook, that's not going to happen until the winter of 1801. So we've got 3 turns, so that's good. We've prevented that. None of these others are applicable until we hit the 5 corsair check, and this is where the pirates raid. So what will happen? The pirates will come out. My frigates will roll 2 dice each to try and make an interception. On a roll of 6, we take out a corsair. That's not happened, so the corsairs move into the open ocean. Roll a dice each. Any 5s or 6s, they steal a coin, which they've just done. Once they hit 12 coins, of course, they do win. and that is spring. Moving on then, we need to have a look at how we're going to try and minimise those pirates and their raids. So now down the front you can't really see it very clear on the screen at the moment because the board is quite wide, but we do have these 3 core cards which can be used instead of a card from hand, but they are discarded from the game, and one of them is to bring those Swedish allies on board, and so let's play that now. And what that does is our Swedish allies in yellow come and sit in the harbour of Tripoli with us, and they help us to prevent the theft of all the American gold. Okay, so that's my turn. Tripoli will play, and it will not do anything again until we hit the 5 Corsair check card. And I've just realised I should have played these 2 cards from the battle line. It's out of my line of sight, but this basically means when there's a we'll do it now, it's only 1 turn earlier. You roll extra dice, and then if you're successful you gain the T-bot gains an extra Corsair. So I'll do both of those. So instead of 5 we will actually roll 8 dice, and then if we're successful we will of course get that extra Corsair. Now the Swedish frigates only roll 1 dice each instead of 2 like we do, and I've just rolled 2 6s, so we have removed 2 Corsairs. The remaining 3 move on, and so the Corsairs will roll 6 dice due to the Happy Hunting card. Oops, off the screen there. Happy Hunting. And they have scored, wow, 4 coins plus the merchant ship converted card will give them an extra Corsair. So the extra Corsair, assuming we don't throw them across the room, and then we also take 1, 2, 3, 4 coins. Wow, that's nearly halfway to their victory condition in the second turn. Okay, these 2 cards from the T-bot are no longer used. Moving into fall, we have now got a problem, haven't we? Don't really want to use the card this early, but there is a card here, Constantinople demands tribute, which would force the Tripolitanian player to return coins to the supply. We could play that. We could discard a card in order to move and maybe attack. We could maybe attack. But I think what I want to do is get my frigates. Let's get my frigates off that supply and into a later turn. That card was a unique card, and it is also discarded from the game. Tripolitanians will play. It's not yet the winter of 1801, and we have that Corsair, the frigate in the harbour, so the Corsairs won't attempt to escape from Tripoli just yet, which means our first card is again the raid card. However, we don't have 5 Corsairs in Tripoli, so we draw a card from the deck, and we have got Second Storms. This is one of the unique cards in the solo game, and it says select a patrol zone that contains at least 1 frigate and roll a die. On a 6, a frigate is sunk. Any additional 6s after that first one, and the frigate is damaged. Now let's just double check the criteria for playing these. If there's a patrol zone with 2 frigates, play immediately. So yep, we play that card, and we'll roll a die for each American frigate, and any first 6s, not a good start. So we have sunk a frigate, which is terrible because that is another one of the Tripolitanians' victory conditions, and when it's sunk 4 of them, we will lose the game. So I'll pop that there, just so that we know. Okay, that card is discarded. Once played. On to winter. Now in winter, we are definitely going to see those two ships, two Corsairs, try to break free. We do not want any more ships in here if we possibly can avoid it. So I'm thinking maybe I can discard one of these cards that is not so useful currently. Yeah, I'll discard Send in the Marines. It's a very powerful card later in the game. At this early stage, it's not so useful. Basically, it adds extra forces during an assault on Tripoli, which is one of the endgame triggers. So I'll discard that. Because I'm discarding, rather than playing, it's added to the discard pile, and we will see it later. But will not necessarily, you don't have to discard it from the game permanently. So I will use that to discard that to do a move. I'll just move my one American frigate over to Gibraltar. The Swedish stay put until they're removed from the game. Okay, so now then, looking at the priorities, the card will happen now is Meredith breaks out. Basically, the two ships here will try to escape, and we will roll 4 dice, 2 for each frigate, to try and stop them. And we've rolled 3. My goodness me. Why couldn't we have rolled that earlier? And so those 2 ships are sunk. The card is now discarded. Okay, that was much better. Right, winter has now turned to spring of the new year. It's now 1802. Our 3 ships move to Gibraltar. We draw 6 new cards. And then we must discard down to 8. Now, there's a fair number of cards in my hand I can see already which relate to land units. In order to have land units on the board, make use of those cards, you need to have a army built here in Alexandria off in the corner there. You can't do that until 1804, so that's another 3 turns away. So these cards are not the best for the Americans at this point. So we need to discard something. Probably this battle card, which says play at the start of a land battle. Okay, so we're now down to 8 cards. We have a bunch of ships in and around Gibraltar, a couple of allies outside Tripolitania. I think what we need to do, if we can, is get some ships back to Tripoli. Okay. Okay, I will play Banbridge Surprise Intel. Take a card from the American discard pile, place it in hand, or play immediately. I will take that with the aim of finding that movement card I played at the very beginning to move 4 frigates. I will certainly do that, and so I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 frigates to the outskirts of Tripoli, or to the patrol zone of Tripoli. Okay, and it is now the Tripolitanians' turn again. As we look through our criteria, Hammett's, this card, can't see that, can you? This card here, the Constantinople sends aid, can't play that until the city of Dern, which is all the way over here, has been captured by the Americans. Again, that won't happen till at least 1804. The Yusuf Karamanli card requires allies in the North African ports, which we do not have currently. Sweden cannot be played until 1803. That's the card that removes the Swedish allies from the game. So we're back to our 5 Corsair check. We only have 4 in the 4 Corsairs in Tripoli, so we will draw a card. And we have the Philadelphia runs aground. And on our list we have, if there's a frigate in the patrol zone of Tripoli, play immediately, otherwise add to the event line and draw again. But we have frigates in the Tripoli patrol zone, so we'll play. roll a die and apply the result. Now we did not have good luck last time with one of these results. We rolled a 3 and the frigate sunk. Oh my goodness me, that's terrible. That is terrible. Wow. Halfway towards their second victory condition. That's now 2 ships that the Tripolitanians have got. Just trying to make sure we can see that on the screen so we can keep track. Let's pop them there. That's 2 ships and 5 coins. Wow. Okay, that card is actually then removed from the game that Philadelphia runs aground. Moving into summer. Okay, got a handful of cards here, most of which are not that helpful. So I think what we'll do is we will play... Actually, we'll discard. We'll discard the assault on Tripoli. This is a victory card, but we can't play it for another 4 turns. So we'll definitely see the card again by then. So we'll discard that in order to build a gunboat. And these gunboats are these little ones. They help out in battles, and it just lives in Malta. Moving on then to the Tripolitanians again. Nothing applicable as before, so we move into a card. We have the US supplies run low, and if they're, according to the extra information, if there are exactly 2 frigates, American frigates in the patrol zone for Tripoli, play immediately, otherwise discard to raid or build. So raid or build is this card here. And basically, if you have more Corsairs than American and Swedish combined, you do a raid. If you have fewer Corsairs, you build. And we've only got 4 Corsairs and there are 5 frigates, so we pop a Corsair there. And then we move into fall. And I think what we need to do is do an attack. So I'm going to discard again. And I'm going to make use of one of these battle cards during this attack. So let me remove or discard the tribute paid in order to move 2 frigates, and I'll move 1 from Gibraltar and 1 from the edge of Tripoli into Tripoli harbour. My gunboat can come from Malta, and then I will be able to declare my battle card that I showed you, which I've lost now. Here we go. I will declare that I will also play this. So instead of 2 dice, I can roll 3 for my frigates. The Tripolitanians may also play a battle card. And no, they don't play one at this point. None of the criteria on the back of the rule book for these cards was applicable. So what we'll do is we will roll 5 dice, plus an additional 2 for the Americans, and 5 dice for the Tripoli Corsairs. And any 6s are hits. Okay, we have 3 hits for the Americans and no hits for the Tripolitanians. We remove 3 of their Corsairs, and then we go off back to Malta. Go and get our ships repaired and refitted. Okay, that's the end of the fall turn for the Americans. So we now move to Tripoli again, and same as before, we're going to draw a card. This time we have the Tunisian Corsairs raid. Now I believe, without even looking at that, we're not going to do that at the moment, no, because we don't have any Corsairs in Tripoli and Tunisia at the moment, which is just here. So we have to discard that and raid or build. Don't have enough to warrant raiding, so we will build a Corsair. Moving into winter. And this time I want to play Constantinople demands tribute, which I can play to return 2 of those coins that the Tripolitanians have stolen back to the supply. So that's reducing their lead on the victory condition there at least. Moving into the Tripoli turn again, and I believe we are back at the cards because we don't apply for any of these. Next turn we're going to see that crop up. Did I just may have done something wrong? Oh, look at that, both cards are exactly the same. Okay, so we just simply do the same thing, which would be raid and build. We couldn't do the Tunisian raid because there's no pirates in Tunisia, so we moved to raid or build. Still not enough forces to raid, so we build another Corsair in Tripoli. End of the turn. We move on. Reinforcements come up here. Okay, now we draw another 6 cards. This time we've got 3 to start with, so we're going to have to discard again. Okay. Right. I'm going to discard one of these, this land battle card. Can't use it at the moment, not till next turn at the earliest. So we're down to our 8 cards, and this turn I think we want to try and keep the pressure on Tripoli by attacking again. So let's do Naval Movement, and we'll play that card to the discard pile, and move up to 4 of our boats, which we will do here. Move 3 into Tripoli itself, and then 4 the 4th from the pirate zone to do an attack. The gunboat will come with us, and again as before we get to play a battle card, but I don't really have anything I wish to play currently as a battle card, and we check for the Tripolitanian battle cards. There isn't one currently that we can play due to the clauses, so we simply roll 9 dice for the Americans and 4 dice for the Tripolitanians. Okay, so 4 dice and 9 dice, 6 of hits as always, and wow, we have 1 hit out of all those dice, buckets of dice, and just the 1 hit, which is a Corsair hitting the Americans, and we get to choose. Gunboats have 1 wound, frigates have 2. We'll remove the gunboat. Frigates are too valuable, especially as we've already lost 2 of them. We'll move those back to Malta. We now begin the Tripoli turn, and yeah, it's 1803. We can play Sweden pays tribute, which basically removes the Swedish allies from the game and takes 2 of our coins and gives them to the Tripoli side. Powerful card. Always happens in 1803, so you can prepare for that, or at least in the solo game it always happens in 1803. You can prepare for that somewhat. In the multiplayer game you may see that happen later if you are playing against a living person, but in the solo game always in the beginning of 1803. Moving on to summer. One thing we need to do in this turn in order to get the land army built over in Alexandria, which is just off screen to the right there, up in the corner, we need to get a ship there, a frigate, and we can only really, without that frigate, we cannot build the land army. So at some point we are going to have to move again. So what we'll do is we'll play Early Deployment, which is this card here, and we can just play that as a normal event. And what that does is it lets us take a ship from the turn track and place it into a patrol zone, which we've just done. Moving into the next turn, we still cannot do these two cards. Can't quite see them, but those two cards. So we're back to the 5 Corsair check. We do not have five Corsairs in Tripoli currently, so we will play a card. And the Moroccan Corsairs raid. Now Morocco's all the way off the map there, off the screen on the other side of the map, so they're not going to do anything this turn, because we don't have any. And so we're going to raid and build. We do have now more than 3 Corsairs in the raid or build, and more than the American and Swedish in the patrol zone, so we're going to raid out of Tripoli. Of course, our frigates can still try and make that interception, and we do have a battle card which will allow us to, which we can play. So that will allow us, although we do have to discard it, and that will allow us to roll 3 dice for both those frigates. No 6s, which is pretty terrible. The Corsairs move off to the open ocean, do some raiding. Cock dice roll again. Look at that. Determined to steal all the gold. Moving into fall of 1803. Now we do now have a show of, not a show of force, a naval movement. We can move four Corsairs now. Corsairs, frigates, 4 frigates. Not up to date on my naval terms. And we can move all 4 of these guys in Tripoli, Malta to Tripoli, and really have a big, powerful force. In fact, I'm going to move two I'll move 1 into the Tripoli patrol zone, and the other 3 I'll move into the harbour. But if I do that, I need to move again next turn to go to Alexandria, which is off the map again. Very long, thin map. So let's move 1 of those guys to the harbour at Alexandria. 1 guy here, 2 boats into Tripoli. So we'll have a naval battle, rolling 4 dice and 4 dice. Let's just clear those out of the way so we don't make a muddle. And we have 1 hit for the Americans and 1 hit for the Corsairs. Remove a Corsair for the American hit. The Corsairs, though, do damage a frigate. What happens here is you have to be removed from the board onto the next turn, and you cannot rejoin until that turn happens. The surviving boat goes back to Malta. We're in 1803 still, so we don't have any allies, there's no land forces, so again we're back to the 5 Corsair check. We don't have any the sufficient number of Corsairs, so draw a card. And here we have the Algerian Corsairs raid, but we don't have any in Algeria, so again back to raid and build. We have 3 Corsairs, that's okay, but we do not have more than the Americans, so we're going to build for the turn and move into winter. Okay, winter. Next turn I'm going to be able to build a land army using this card here, Hamet's Army Created, which will then open up a few things that we can do if we've got the right cards. The land army, much like the allies, is only really moved through the use of cards, which will crop up, I'm sure. Now, I don't really like any of these cards. I appreciate you probably can't see what I'm looking at, but none of these are very applicable now. We move to an ally, not really helpful. There's not really any Corsairs, so we don't really, any Tripolitanian frigates, and the Corsairs we can probably deal with an attack. So let's discard the battle card to the discard pile to move our frigate there. The Tripolitanians, looking down the row again, do not have the appropriate number of cards of Corsairs still, so we move on to the deck. And here we have troops to Tripoli, placed 2 Tripolitanian infantry in the city of Tripoli. They're starting to build up their ground forces themselves now, because the attack will come eventually. And that's the end of the turn, the end of the round, so we move on to 1804. And things will start to change now in 1804. It becomes much more of a land combat now, much bigger forces involved. But first we need to draw our 6 cards. We're in 1804, there's only 6 cards left, so we take all 4. We still have to discard one, because I've got 9. Do definitely want to keep general leads and attacks done. Naval Movement, Benghazi. Corsairs confiscated, really only useful at the very start of the game, so we'll discard that one. We have our 8 cards, so now 1804. I think the first thing we really want to do in 1804 is create Hamat's army, and that is this card. It's one of our core cards. We have a frigate in the Alexandrian harbour. We place a marine and a Arab and 5 Arab infantry units. So we have some marine, these little blue cubes, plus 5 white cubes, which is the army of the Arab army. That card is then removed from the game. Okay, now we're in 1804. We do have an army. Things are going to start changing up a little bit here in terms of the play for the Tripolitanian side. However, this first turn it remains to be a 5 Corsair check. We don't have 5 Corsairs in Tripoli, so we'll pull a card. Algerian Corsairs again. Okay, so raid and build. Again, can't raid, so we build. I shuffled those cards, I promise. Okay, Naval Movement. When we do our... We want to try, and one of the ways of winning this game with the Americans is to capture Dern and then ensure there's peace in all the other regions. We don't have the card to play that at the moment. We can't play that till 1805 at the earliest anyway. But what we need to do really is get our guys in the port here, which again is off the board. We need to get the guys here into Dern. And we do have assistance from the Navy if we do that. Now, the trouble is, we do have issues with battle cards on the Tripolitanian side where they can force our forces to desert when they attack Dern. So what we'll do is I'll just discard a card, and I'll discard this card because it's kind of best when there's Tripolitanian frigates. We don't have any currently. To move 2, and I'll move 2 into the harbour of Dern, and this will allow me to roll 4 dice. Any 6s, we remove a land army. Just 1 round. We don't have any gunboats sadly, but just 1 round. And we roll 2 6s, so we take away 2 of the forces in Dern, softening up the infantry there. The Navy do go back to Malta, as with most other actions or combat actions. That was that was summer, wasn't it? So, okay, we have 5 Corsairs. We'll do the 5 Corsair check. We haven't done any attacking in Dern yet, so the 5 Corsairs are going to come and try and get past. We will roll 4 dice, so at least one's going to get past. Nothing. Now we roll 5 dice. There may be a battle card. No, next turn there's a battle card, and as in 1805, there's a battle card which allows the Corsairs to roll more dice. So we need to start softening up a little bit. The Navy in Tripoli, we have a 5, so on a 5 or a 6, they steal another gold. Getting there slowly. They come back unscathed. I didn't have any battle cards to play that were applicable. Okay, let's take the chance now to move into Dern. And we're going to do that through a card, which funnily enough says attack Dern, or generally it's in attacks Dern. And so if I just move the camera, we will move the army plus up to 3. Oh, something on the board there. Plus up to 3 boats into the harbour of Dern. So we'll move from Alexandria and from Malta. We will begin with a naval bombardment, just to confirm that that is exactly how land battles work. I believe it is. Yep, ground combat. You can bombard at normal, so I'm going to roll 6 dice, try and get rid of those 2 infantry. We've got got rid of 1 infantry, which is a good start. We then make our way back, leaving the land forces to fight it out. Now we have battle cards we can play. I sadly don't have a battle card, however the Tripolitanians do. I believe they can play Mercenaries Desert, which is this one. I'm just double checking. Yeah, Mercenaries Desert we play because we've got the event card here. What's going on is the active event is the most recently played event card. And what it will do, this Mercenaries Desert card, is we will roll a die for each of those 5 white cubes, the 5 Arab units. Any 6s, we remove a white cube, the mercenary side's desert. But we're lucky, we haven't got that problem here. And so with a land battle, we again go back to rolling dice. Here though, it's a 6. 6 against 1 situation. We have 6 cubes. Tripoli has just 1. Any 6s? No 6s. So we repeat that die roll until somebody is out. We just keep going until somebody has lost, essentially. You can, I believe, top of my head, you can redo the battle cards. I just realised it should be a red dice. You can redo the battle cards should you choose to. I don't have any that I can use myself. There we go. We have now captured Dern. That's fantastic, because that means that when the time comes in 1805, we can play the treaty if we can keep the region in peace, which basically means no Moroccan, Algerian or Tunisian raiders in the Allied ports. Okay. Okay. That was summer. We need to... Oh, here we go. Constantinople sends aid. This means we have the Tripolitanian frigates come out at last. And again, this doesn't usually happen until we have captured Dern, which we've just done. And basically we replace a Tripolitanian frigate and 2 corsairs into Tripoli, plus 2 infantry into Tripoli. So it's a frigate, 2 corsairs and 2 infantry into Tripoli, really making sure the defences are solid. Okay, wow, that's an awful lot of numbers there to try and beat. It's now fall of 1804. Okay. Just checking to see what cards we might play. I've got something here which may allow me to may allow me to take care of that Tripolitanian frigate if we have a good roll, or we could try and take Benghazi, another land battle, or either way, kind of the military option. Yeah, let's try the military option. Same thing then. Play the card, play any battle cards. I don't have any. I don't believe there is one that the T-bot can play. No, not at this point. We're moving into Benghazi. We move the frigates again. We start as before with the 6 dice for the frigates, hand in front of the screen there, and we're going to roll 1. They go back, and then we roll 6 dice again for us, but this time it's 3 for the Tripolitanians. Nope. No damage from anybody there. There's no battle cards still, so 1 injury each. Combat is very simple in this game. Just keep going until somebody's defeated. If the Tripolitanians ever defeat the army, we do actually lose, which is kind of more risky than you think. But anyway, we have taken out those last 2, and we have now captured well, 2 6s there. Okay, fall of 1804. We still can't play that card, which is the raiding with the allies. A big raid. We don't have enough allies. The Tripolitanians don't have enough allies, rather. So we are going to go back here, and this time we've definitely got way more than 5 Corsairs to do the pirate raid. Our frigates are going to try and stop them. They fail. A bad roll here could potentially see me lose the game. I've got 7 Corsairs there. Is it 7? 7 Corsairs. There's only 5 remaining coins. A very unlucky roll, and I could be out of the game here. Is that 7? That's only 6. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness me. That's 4 out of a remaining total of 5. 1 more coin and they win the game, the Tripolitanians. Wow, that is shocking. Okay. Okie dokie, they come back. I'm going to have to do the Naval Movement, which is this card here. Just play it as a played card. That was 4. We're now into winter, and we move 3. Can move up to 4. Oh, we have got a 4th one over in Gibraltar still. We now have a large number to try and stop. I could move 4. I could come into trying to do a battle. Yeah, I'm going to have to move all 4 from their various locations into Tripoli. We have 7 Corsairs, 2 frigates. Ouch, we'll try. Okay, so 8 dice, but I have no what they called, no battle cards that I can use. So we've taken 2 against the Corsairs, but the Corsairs and that Tripolitanian frigate will between them roll 9. And no hits. That's excellent. Okay, the process for injuring Tripolitanians when they have frigates is first you do damage to the Tripolitanians, and then you do damage to the Corsairs. Removing that one. Now I can't remember if that goes straight, the Tripolitanian frigate goes straight to the turn track or not. I don't think it does. I think it stays there. I don't think it goes onto the turn track. I think we have 1 injured frigate, Tripolitanian frigate, and then now 6 Corsairs. which means the next turn will be a 5 Corsair check again, and they do still have 6 frigates, so they will try and get past. I did not do anywhere near as much damage there as I was hoping to, because those 6 frigates have now got only 2 ships to get past. So we'll roll our 4 dice. No damage. The Corsairs will roll their 6 dice. And take 4 coins. We only have 1. We have now lost the game as the American player. Yeah, wow, that came to an end sooner than I was expecting. I was hoping to last just one more turn, one more year, because I could have played that. I had conquered Dern. Everywhere was at peace. I had an opportunity using the Burn of Philadelphia card to get rid of that frigate without any combat. So near, and yet so far. So anyway, that was the Shores of Tripoli from Fort Circle Games. It's a game I've played a lot over the last few weeks. It's very enjoyable. As a solo player, there may be an element of always knowing when certain things will happen, in terms of the event cards having those year restrictions or year conditions to play them. That may or it may not affect the replayability. I don't know. I haven't played it enough, to be honest. But yeah, I definitely enjoy it. It's a nice game. You can get done in just under an hour or so as a solo player, without too many rules to learn, despite the asymmetrical nature of it. Thank you for joining me. I'll leave it there for now, and I'll see you next time.